Hey everyone, Stephen Reed here, Director of Communications for the Washington State Democrats. I'm here with my friend Demaris. We're in beautiful Goldendale, Washington. Demaris, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi, I'm Demaris Garceau. I moved to Washington when my dad retired from the Navy in 1968. I taught at Oregon State University, Central Washington University, and then retired to Goldendale about 3 years ago.
Your dad was a veteran. What do you think he would think about the current administration and how they've been conducting foreign affairs?
My father would have absolutely, well, he did. He exploded during the first term. He completely gave up and decided to die.
Hmm. And so what were the particulars that angered your father so?
Well, he served in the Navy for 23 years. His whole family have served in the service in America since. I was telling her we came here in 1642. My family served in the Revolutionary War and every war and conflict ever since. Um, my father was a humanitarian. He traveled all over the world. But the only continent he never got to was Antarctica. Um, he met people all over the world. He'd bring them home here to Goldendale to visit. Um, and he really valued the Constitution and the rule of law. He was a local police officer, and he was absolutely gobsmacked when the very first term,
Yeah.
and he would just have completely died, uh,
Mhm.
which he did. So
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it's difficult to talk about these sorts of things, especially with family members who've passed on. Yeah, we're not even 100 days into this administration as
no,
the time of this filming, and we've already seen a unanimous Supreme Court decision be totally ignored by the current administration as they're disappearing lawful residents of the United States with no due process and no human rights considerations whatsoever. There's basically a gulag that's been established in South America.
exactly.
So, how do you think that we're going to get through this as a country, and what can we do to really come together and show that solidarity, especially in communities like Goldendale, which are in very red counties and very red parts of our state?
Well, the first thing is, and I hate to say it, but people have to feel the pain.
Mm.
I was getting a master's in Russian history. I studied Stalin, I studied Hitler, I studied how they came to power. And this is exactly how they did it. And and I used to ask myself when I was younger, when I was doing those studies, how is it people didn't have a clue? How is it they just turned a blind eye or they just accept it? I still ask that question.
Hmm.
Um, But I think what's going to happen, unfortunately, is it's going to have to start hitting home. And what's really going to happen is, as you said, he's creating a gulag. This is These are American citizens that are going to be sent, and he even said that on national television that he will have no qualms about sending American citizens to foreign prisons
Yeah,
where we know there are no human rights.
right.
So I think people are going to have to feel the pain, but I believe in Americans. I do believe in Americans, and I believe in the majority of Americans because the majority do not support this. And Americans believe in freedom.
Hmm.
We believe in democracy. We know what that is. We
Hmm.
grew up with that. We have an experience with that. And I think when push comes to shove, people are going to stand up together and demand change.
Mm.
What I fear is civil war if the Republican Party doesn't hold Trump accountable.
Mm.
That's my biggest fear.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your story with our supporters and our networks. We encourage everyone who has stories like yours to contact us. We would love to share those more on our various channels. It really is going to take all of us to push back against the unconstitutionality of the Trump administration. Just on the drive down here, we were shocked because I grew up in the Tri Cities in Benton County, and we would see, I mean, just last year there were I would say, hundreds of Trump signs on that drive, and we didn't see a single one on this drive. So it seems that maybe they might still be supporters of the president, but they are certainly hiding it now, whereas they used to be very proud. And I think that's because of the general incompetence we've seen, the abuses of human rights that are ongoing, the disappearance of people by masked federal agents. It really is a scary time, and we really want to recognize that and provide as much help and assistance as we possibly can as our country goes through this. And thankfully, we still are having elections, and there's another one. Well, there's always an election. It's always an election year in Washington State, but next year will be the big one that we can hopefully elect a new House of Representatives that will provide some checks and balances again, like the Constitution says we're supposed to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.